Welcome to Sports Overtime. Gabriella, Patrick Walsh, we had a great week of shows here, Southeast Sports Plus.
Yeah, we broke down all the biggest sports topics with our friends from across the Nexstar Nation.
Here's the best of.
Welcome back to Southeast Sports Plus here on this Taco Tuesday. I'm going to deliver tacos next week. I'm going to deliver our good friend Jeff Shearer right now and go over to the Plains and talk with Jeff. Jeff, number one, thank you so much for joining us here on this program. It is good to have you on. You obviously know Gabriella very well, and Patrick. Thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And you had my attention when I heard the words Taco Tuesday together. So that sounds like an exciting promotion.
Yeah, it was a thing. I don't know if you remember when LeBron James did that last year with that whole thing that would it was a Taco Bell or whatever. But no, we're adopting it, and apparently I'm providing tacos next week. But you're fresh off your trip from Indianapolis there with the Auburn men's basketball team. Won the NIT, first time ever. As you now break down what this last 5 games meant for this program and being able to pick up those 3 wins at Neville, pick up 2 wins there in Indianapolis, how huge was this for this program as they move forward?
I think it was big. I talked to Kevin Overton yesterday when the team returned from Indianapolis, and he said winning a tournament at any level of basketball, a national tournament especially, is undervalued. And I'm going to copy Kevin's word, KO's word there, as you see him on your picture. He was the hero of the championship game, and I like the way he put it with undervalued. Is it the NCAA tournament? Of course not. Would Auburn have rather been playing in the NCAA tournament? Absolutely. But this was the hand they were dealt, and what did they do with it? Well, they could have taken their ball and gone home and declined to participate, or they could have mailed it in and not given a maximum effort. Keyshawn Murphy chose not to be a part of this team, so it left a shorthanded roster even more so. And those 6 or 7 guys banded together, and they went out and played ball. And it seemed like, as you can look at those pictures, I see some guys who were enjoying something that they love to do. And where's the harm in that, right? So absolutely, it was big for Auburn. Again, not an NCAA tournament, not the tournament that this program wants to be in or the expectation, but that's where Auburn was this year, and they made the most of it. So we commend them for it.
Yeah, Jeff, definitely good to see those players excited to play some basketball. I want to ask you, in terms of Stephen Pearl, how big were these last 5 wins for him?
I think Stephen mentioned this too. This is a guy who's been a part of this program for more than a decade, but he is still finding his sea legs as a head coach. So every time he's in a tight game with national television and getting his team prepared, sometimes on a quick turnaround, sometimes on a longer turnaround, all of that is great experience for him as he continues to develop as a head coach. His dad had 9 years at the Division II level at Southern Indiana before he went to a mid-major and then to Tennessee and then on to Auburn. Stephen, while he was instrumental in the success that Auburn enjoyed under Bruce Pearl, this is his first season as a head coach. So that there are things that you can't know. You don't know what you don't know until you're doing it. And he would, if he were talking to you right now, would tell you that exact same thing. And so those 5 extra games gave him a chance to develop as a head coach. And so no downside to that.
Absolutely. He obviously walked in with a very unique set of circumstances. His father was the head coach going into the season. His father retires late, hands it right off to him. He now goes from, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on the dynamic of the team, he goes more from friend, peer, colleague, buddy with a lot of these guys to now enforcer. As you now reset and take a look at the entire season as a whole, how would you grade his performance and some of the things that he will need to do to be a better coach, better leader going into next year, some of the things that he'll put on himself?
Sure. I don't know if any of the players on the team, on previous teams, would ever put Stephen in that friend, peer, buddy category.
Okay. That's why I said correct me if I'm wrong.
but your point is absolutely on target. There are things that when you're the head coach, you have to carry yourself differently than an assistant coach. And assistant coaches can sometimes be good cop and bad cop. And the head coach obviously can still do that as well, but it's a different dynamic when you are the head coach. And again, that's something that Stephen Pearl adjusted to, or it continues to adjust to. So I would give him, I'm not big on letter grades. He doesn't need one from me, but I think this year he has certainly developed and grown into this role. When Auburn was at its best this season, just a dominant win over a very, very good Arkansas team at home, probably the biggest road win in college basketball this season, winning at Florida. So when Auburn was at that level, they were one of the better teams in the SEC. Now, down the stretch of the regular season, I'm not saying anything that no one who follows this program doesn't know. Auburn struggled and won some games that they certainly would have liked to have won. So there was some inconsistency there. And that's something that Stephen Pearl and his assistant coaches are going to try to rectify going forward.
Pete Golding took over for Lane Kiffin when Lane Kiffin made the move over to LSU. Some on his accord, some he was forced out. But Pete Golding made the most of it and ended up taking his team all the way to the college football playoff semifinals. We get word now that he's going to stay as a coordinator, so to speak, and calling plays. Your thoughts?
I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
I kind of always think if it's not broke, don't fix it. And this has been his thing. He's been great when it comes to defense. So he worked with Nick Saban as a defensive coordinator. He went over to Ole Miss as the defensive coordinator, and he's run some really great defenses. So I think this is a smart move on Ole Miss's part.
What's really interesting about this, Patrick, is the fact that he got the ear of another former guy that was one of the nation's best defensive coordinators turned head coach that helped him make the decision.
Yeah, and I mean, anytime that you can get Brent Venables in your ear telling you, hey, look what you should do, but it's always going to be a good thing. But here was the conversation that he had with Brent Venables. He was like, look, if you got that job for a lot of reasons, but the primary reason is you've always done a really good job with the defense, and if you're able to do that, then you need to continue doing that. And I think that's high praise coming from a guy like Brent Venables who did the exact same thing. Obviously, he was over at Clemson for a number of years, was pivotal. I think the reason why Clemson won so many national championships, not so much Dabo Swinney, because now we're really seeing who was really the mastermind behind everything, but for him to have gone through that transition himself. Obviously, he calls the defense over there at Oklahoma. To come out and tell another SEC school, another guy within the SEC, like, hey, you should do this because you got hired to be a defensive coordinator, and now you're hired as a head coach, but you're a defensive-minded head coach. This just makes too much sense.
Right. I'm going to run one of your takes back at you for a second. You just give me your quick thoughts on this. You weren't a fan of this as it related to Auburn. DJ Durkin took the interim head coaching job, and the defense kind of slipped up a little bit. Do you see this defense still being able to produce at a high level with Pete Golding, or do you think there maybe it's apples and oranges as it relates to Durkin?
Well, here's the thing that I kind of worry about is the fact that they allowed over 400 yards per game in the college football playoff. And I've been a proponent of, hey, I don't think some of these guys that are doing this for the first time are necessarily going to have success because it took Brent Venables a few years to have success calling defensive plays while also looking over the entire Oklahoma team. I mean, they just made the college football playoff this year, and if it weren't for Dylan Gabriel, 3 years ago now, they wouldn't have even sniffed coming close to that. So it's just, I don't know. I think it's going to be some growing pains. I think the game against Louisville to open up the season is going to tell us a lot about what Pete Golding is truly made of. It's also going to tell me a lot about if John David Baker is the right guy on the offensive side of things for Ole Miss, or was it Charlie Weiss truly behind the scenes being able to cook up and scheme up? Kind of like the college football version of Ben Johnson.
Old number one, thank you so much for joining us back here on the show today. There's lots to talk about. We could go into a lot of different topics. Let's start with softball because this is a really interesting dynamic because it's not just the Red River rivalry. It's not just Oklahoma, Texas. It's the last two national champions. It's the kind of the bell cows of the SEC in softball right now. What are your early thoughts here as the Sooners and Longhorns lock horns once again, one more time there in your state?
Well, technically, it's the last 5 national champions, so you won 4
very
in
true.
a row.
Yeah. If I would have, hey, TV timeout. Had I said that to our Texas folks, they'd have been like, "Oh yeah, you're still the last 2 champions," but you're like, you know what, the previous 4 before that. But no, it's a good correction.
Softball looks like they're just plugging along. I know Texas just lost a couple games recently, so I think OU's got a couple game cushion in the SEC standings right now. But obviously, going to play in Austin is a little bit more of a tougher test than getting them at Love's Field. So I'm really excited to see how this one shakes out. Things did not go so well for the baseball team down in Austin. They got swept. So the softball team's going to be hoping for some better results. And it's always fun, the rivalry, because I think Mike White really kind of perpetuates a lot of it, and especially in recent years with his claims about Oklahoma City and everything like that. So it makes it a little bit more fun, because I think people here genuinely hate Mike White. So it's not just the hatred of Texas; they hate Mike White too. So it makes it all the more fun.
Yeah, that's really funny. But one thing for this softball team that has been really huge all season has been Kendall Wells. Her name is starting to be mentioned with some of the other Oklahoma greats. From your perspective, what has she meant to this team?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think of all the greats that have come through OU softball, and Kendall Wells might be at the top of the list by the time it's all said and done. I mean, she's a freshman. She stays healthy, which is a big if considering she's catching pretty much almost every day. That's a tough position to keep playing, but man, I can't say I saw it coming that she'd be at 30 home runs here with still several weeks left in the regular season, let alone just the entire postseason and everything like that. So it's pretty remarkable to see what she's been doing, and a lot of her home runs are not cheap shots either. She is booming them out of the ballpark. It's remarkable on a team full of great hitters. I mean, she's come in and just has established herself as the best one just as a freshman. It's remarkable to see what she's doing, and you have to wonder when teams are just going to start walking her instead of pitching to her, letting her get all these home runs and everything.
And stay with us here on Sports Overtime. Much more to come.
Yes, and remember, you can watch our show, Southeast Sports Plus, Monday to Friday from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock on the free WKRG Plus app.
You can download the app on your Apple TV, Roku, Fire TV, and Samsung TV device.
We have talked about the Auburn golf team several times over the course of the year. Had a chance to have their head coach, Nick Kleinert, on, and two of their golf superstars are actually sweeping up these SEC awards. We'll go to Patrick first on this one. We talked about Jackson Coyven. He's I would say the number one college golfer in America, probably by maybe not a long shot, but definitely by a large margin. But then also Jake Albert sweeping those awards today. Yeah,
and this is just another. It almost feels like, all right, it's just another week for these guys, because it feels like all we do is talk about, Jackson Coyven and Jake Albert. And if I'm not mistaken, this is Coyven's 8th nomination to the SEC Golfer of the Week in his career. And it doesn't look like he's slowing down anytime soon. He's got 9 career wins, 12 under to win last week. I mean, Auburn absolutely dominated the Mason Rudolph Championship. Again, I would like to point out this is not the same Mason Rudolph as the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback. But he has just been absolutely dominating anyone and everyone, and same with this Auburn team. If I'm not mistaken, I think they won by 17 shots last weekend.
That's insane. I mean, that's insane.
Like, how is that even fair? Like, this is honestly, this kind of brings up something that, weirdly enough, I'm just starting to think about this now. Is he a top 5 college golfer of all time?
I mean, obviously, you think about what Phil went to Arizona State. Tiger went to Stanford.
I think Phil had 16 wins.
Right.
Tiger had 11. He's 2 away from Tiger.
Yeah.
And I'll add, when I interviewed him actually when I was at Auburn, and the thing that stands out about him is he was coming off a summer. He went on the PGA Tour run. He was the number 1 amateur golfer. We sat him down to do an interview, and he was so cool, calm, and collected about everything. It was just very like, oh, it was a cool opportunity. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, he has that golf mindset that you need, where you're kind of able to stay steady and even kill when it comes to situations like this.
We talked about the hatred from the Texas A&M standpoint. The Red River rivalry, softball style, how is it because of the fact that they have been the 2 best softball programs for the last half decade?
Yeah, I would say in general, the Texas OU rivalry is very different than the Texas versus Aggies rivalry. There's a former Texas football player, Dan Neal, who was on our pregame show the past couple of years, Texas Game Day. And Dan, if you don't want me to say this, you shouldn't have told it to me. But he's like, the Texas OU rivalry, like, you don't like each other, but there's a level of respect there. He's like, the Aggie rivalry is like, you haven't done anything. There's no respect there. It's just like little brother energy. So I would say in general, that's what it is. And baseball is included, that they talk a lot about how A&M hasn't won a national championship in any of the really major sports. But as far as Texas OU, to me, it's like this series is all about a mindset where in every sport, you'll find a team that's very good, but there's like the established powerhouse, and the very good team dominates everybody, but it's just, can they finally beat the established powerhouse? And Texas was able to flip that switch last year against Oklahoma. But this year's Texas team, I think OU still has that cachet to them because the Longhorns are a team that they have a couple veterans, but they're pretty young for how good they are. And they have some transfers as well that haven't played Oklahoma before. And Patty Gasso's got a squad this year, as is tradition. So I think that's kind of the mentality is there is certainly a level of respect between these two programs and these two coaches, between Gasso and Mike White on the Texas side. But it's all just like, can Texas get affected by the Oklahoma, that OU logo? Like Texas football, they beat almost every SEC team, but there's something about when they face Georgia. Like, I think Georgia's in their head. Is the same thing for Oklahoma softball here.
And stay with us here on Sports Overtime. Much more to come.
Yes, and remember, you can watch our show, Southeast Sports Plus, Monday to Friday from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock on the free WKRG Plus app.
You can download the app on your Apple TV, Roku, Fire TV, and Samsung TV device. I don't want to spoil my prediction, but I think this next guy might.
Oh, see, okay. Now we've been creeping towards our predictions, and I think we're going to end up having the same person that ends up winning it. Bryce DeChambeau has been an absolute tear. And to your question earlier about playing well going into it, he is. He's dynamite right now, and he has been knocking on the door there in Augusta. I mean, I think we're going to have the same winner to win this thing because there is one person in the world that's playing the kind of golf you want to play going into a Masters week. Yeah,
and he's already won twice this year on Live, coming off the win in Live South Africa. I think you want to just do predictions now?
Let's do it.
All right,
let's do it. Yeah.
I think this is the year Bryson gets it done. In my opinion, I thought it was going to be last year. But the one thing that, if you're keeping an eye on him throughout the entire golf course this weekend, is can he stay out of his own head? Because that's been the one thing that's kind of held him back here in the last few chances at the Masters. And it's what we saw from Rory as well.
Right.
He took the lead after hole 2 in the final round last year, and he never really sniffed it afterwards. And it almost feels like he got in his own head a little bit. He tried to squeeze just a little bit when he didn't really need to, because Rory ended up making some mistakes that had Bryson not made those mistakes, he probably would have been in a great spot to win it. I think this is the year Bryson gets it done. I think the mental game is good. He wins by 2 shots.
There is a term, I think it's Tony Robbins, like the motivational speaker. He says that success leaves clues. There are clues in the route to success. And I think no further than Rory McIlroy. Yeah. He knocked on the door several times, choked. He was known as the choker at Augusta. Yeah. And I just feel like last year opened the door for what Bryson can do this year. Add to the fact he's been top 6 2 different times and 2 different wins at Live. I think he gets it done.
Okay.
And you want to hold your predictions?
No, I'm going to give mine.
Okay.
But I think that's great that you guys had the same one, but I'm going to go Scotty Scheffler.
Okay.
I think you guys are reading a little too much into this. He's having a kid. He's distracted. It's his second go-round, guys. He's already done this. He's been there, done that.
To the viewers at home, I want it to be known, like, I'm probably one of the biggest Scotty Scheffler fans out there.
That's very true.
Like, I don't want to say diehard, because that's, like, kind of crazy to say that you're a diehard golf fan. Of one golfer, but I follow him pretty closely, and I root for greatness. Like, I want him to be that next Tiger Woods, this generation's Tiger Woods, where he just goes off and he just wins like every single week, because I find that enjoyable to watch. I just feel like the expectations are kind of lofty, you know, and the books, if you've been following Vegas, they've started to slowly retreat, so to speak, in that regard.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are taking into effect the second kid, but she's just like, it's old hat. You did it a couple years ago. You can do it again. You can do it again easily.
And we talked to his coach. He said mentally he knows how to separate himself on the course.
That's very true. That's good retention
we
right
got
there.
the insight.
That's good retention right there. That's our show tonight. Thank you so much for joining us for Sports Overtime.
And remember, you can watch our show, Southeast Sports Plus, weekdays from 2 to 4 p.m.
Good night.